actually the question with how the implants become successful. Now the whole and how the complex situation arises when you actually see the cases and how to go ahead with those cases. Whenever I go to lecture, I never have any theory part in my lecture series. It's all the work which we have done, the faculty in BHU, what we try to show to the people, try to show to the students how the things mature, how the things go. And I'll be also showing you the front page of the publications which they have happened all over India in the international and national journals. So you can just read them. It's actually the theory which is actually in the paper, so you can read how the case went. So let's start without further delay. Now this is the question. Now if you place an implant, the basic thing is that, very basic, if you place an implant, there should be 2 millimeter of bone buccal to the implant. This is the thing which is now the most prevalent. If you have a bone and if you place an implant, after placement of implant, there should be 2 millimeter of bone ahead buccal side of the implant. This is very basic. Remember this. This is the basic criteria of success. This everybody knows. This is the most important thing. Now, if you don't have bone, this bone, then you have to augment it. Now, how you augment it and how and what are the results of that augmentation? This is what I'm going to show you today through my cases, which we have done in the faculty. The above slide is again the landmark showing you the buccal bone present around the implant. This is the basic criteria success of implant. 2 millimeter. Now the further publication says that it should be 4 millimeter, not 2 millimeter. So, but where do you get actually 4 millimeter? Most of the patients which we get today, every day in our practice, which is hardly, when they come to us, there's hardly any bone there. Now how do you actually augment the bone? How much time do you wait for that bone to grow? And will that bone be actually the same bone which was present initially when you wanted to place an implant? That is a big question mark. That's a very, very big question mark. So let's go for a ride. This slide I'm showing you, remember this very carefully because I've just taken it from somewhere. The implant should be at the crestal level of the adjacent tooth. Remember this. So even if there is no bone, you have to grow this amount of a bone, and there should be buccal 2 millimeter around this bone, around this implant. This is the basic thing for a successful implant. Remember this. Now, every day in BHU, I don't know about ITS, but every day we have cases like this. Patients actually report to us for a missing tooth with this kind of a defect. Now, if somebody wants an implant in this position, can you do implant? Can you think of doing an implant in this position? Can you get this amount of bone to grow? Can the bone come to this crestal level like this till here? Can this bone grow? It's almost next to impossible. So if a patient comes to you with this kind of a situation, what will you tell the patient to have as a teeth? What will you tell that patient to have as a teeth? Anybody in this room, what can you tell the patient that I can rehabilitate you? It's a big question mark. Now, if you have something like this kind of situation, you have such a thin bone for a molar, you place such a thin implant, because you have a very thin bone. Will this be successful? Anybody in this room? Will this case, suppose you do this in your practice, such a thin bone, such a thin implant, this is an implant of 3 millimeters or so, for a molar, will this long last? Will this be long lasting? Anybody? Will this work? Will this work? Somebody patient bites on this particular molar. Will this work? This will not work. Patient will come back with a fallen crown or a broken screw or even a fractured implant. So how do you grow this bone? How do you grow this bone? Okay, so this is very interesting. Now here, what you can do is put some bone graft material and put a membrane, tack it, and you get a result like this. I'm just showing you these pictures, but these are not my cases. I'm just showing you, just to make you understand how the situation is. Now, again, everybody in this room might have encountered of having this kind of a situation. It's such a thin ridge. Patient comes to us with a very, very thin ridge. Very thin ridge. Can you place an implant in this thin ridge? It becomes a very big dilemma. How can you go ahead with this? You can do a CT scan, see how much bone is present. But look at the thin ridge. It's a very big, it's a very complex situation. Now you have a thin ridge like this. How to grow bone? You can't place an implant with this kind of thin ridge. What we follow in our faculty with the postgraduates is all the latest publications, how they go, and what are the important bone graft substitutes. What is our standard for bone grafting is either autogenous bone, patient's own bone, which we take it out, we mix it with artificial substitute. What we follow is the particle that is xenograft. Why xenograft? Because it takes a very long time to resolve. It stays there. Now, which is the best xenograft? That is up to you to decide. In India, we have Gaishli products which are easily available. That is BioOS and BioGuide. All my cases, all my postgraduates are using these products, and we have the results, and we have published it also. This is just a picture which I am showing you. If you have a case like this, there's a one thing how to grow bone. You can just type it on Google, contour bone augmentation by Daniel Boozer. You will see this is what he does. He just grows the bone. I'll show you how it is to be done. One topic is this contour bone augmentation of bone growing. One topic is this Cowrie technique, which we do. We do all this, and this is what my cases will be. I'm just showing you, these are the cases, just telling you, these are the things these are the particular topics through which we grow bone around implants. And this is the latest technique called urban sausage technique. This you can find in Google, don't worry, just have a look what I'm presenting today. You can find everything everywhere. So no need to write anything, just have a look. You'll enjoy what I'm presenting. Okay, every topic is being covered in my cases, so you will see the result how it actually happens. These are the few topics through which Dr. Sunil told me that you have to talk about hard tissue augmentation. My other lecture is soft tissue augmentation. So So I'll tell you what are the basic topics which are so prevalent in the world through which you grow bone and which are very predictable, and what are the materials. I just told you the name of the methods how it is to be done. What are the bone graft substitutes? Natural graft, synthetic graft, all this. Natural graft, autograft is the best. We don't get allograft in India. It's not available in India. It's a cadaver bone, it's a human bone, which is very tough to actually get allograft in India. Very few companies sell it. The major obstacle in these kind of procedures are that it becomes very costly to the patient. It becomes very costly to the patient. I'm telling you the inside story. It is very expensive, these procedures. First thing, expensive as I'm doing in BHU. Remember in BHU how it is done? It is done, the patient has to buy all the artificial bone substitutes. Patient has to bear the prosthesis making. Patient has to bear the implants which are placed in patient's mouth. They have to bear all this. So we are not charging anything. The basic OT charges are charged in BHU. But these things patient has to buy. So I'm very lucky teaching my postgraduates that patients buy all these materials. And the results are excellent. Results are excellent actually. So we use as I told you before, we have autogenous graft. This actually works once you take out bone from the patient's own mouth. You have a synthetic graft like xenograft, patient taken from the calf or from the cow bone or calf bone. This is what xenograft is. So we use a mixture. This is what the technique which I have shown you before. They are also using the same material, and we are actually getting the results. This picture again I am showing you how actually the bone is grown. This is the bone graft material. We cover it with membrane and suture it, and this is acts as a barrier. And this is how the bone grows in 6 months or 7 months. Again, a picture which I'm just showing you in this form, that how the membrane is placed, how the sutures is given, and how the bone grows. These are the materials. This is how we classify the bone graft. Autogenous bone, that corner which you see is a titanium reinforced membrane which are used for vertical bone augmentation. This is the autogenous bone, and once we cover it with a titanium reinforced membrane, we are able to grow the bone vertically also. I'll show you the case. Now, you have, this is now my cases or our cases start. This particular case, you won't believe it, this time it is going to come in. We are so happy to announce that our paper has been accepted in Journal of Aesthetic Restorative Dentistry, which is impact factor 4.1. This particular case, we did a randomized trial. We were shocked when our paper was accepted in the Journal of Aesthetic Restorative Industry with impact factor 4.1. This month publication is coming with these kind of cases. You have a case like this. Now you see there is no bone. You see there is no bone. This is the case. Now she's a young girl who walks in our clinic, father coming with her saying that my daughter lost her teeth with this situation. Can you give a tooth? Because patient is only interested in a tooth. Patient is not interested in what actually you will do. Patient says, I want a tooth. A father with a young girl walks in with this particular situation. How you go ahead? Now, tomorrow, if you have a case like this, how will you go? Anybody, how will you go? Everybody, I hope everybody does implants here. Everybody does implants, I hope. How will you go ahead with this case? We, postgraduates, do the work. I click the pictures. I tell them how to do it. This was the CT. You can see the defect here. There's no bone at all. And when we open the flap, this is the situation. And when we open the flap, place an implant. This is 3.3 by 11.5 DO implant. Remember this very carefully. 3.3. Why 3.3? Why 3.3? Because anybody in the room, anybody. Why 3.3? Why 3.3? Yes, because the width of the ridge is 4.6. This might be hardly 3, but here it is 4.6. So take 3.3. The length is 22. You can easily take 11. Right? Now, once you open this, it's already present everything. Now the major problem in this case, you see, buccal fenestration. There is no buccal bone at all. Imagine patient comes to us for treatment. Well, there is such a huge defect. What actually you expect us to do? And this is what you people are going to face tomorrow in your clinic. And you have to give them a good result. You can make money, you can make name of yourself if you try to do good work. If you try to do good work. And how to do good work is when you know which materials to use. Because implant dentistry you cannot do without hard and soft tissue augmentation. Remember this very, very carefully. Very, very carefully, you cannot do any kind of implant dentistry without hard and soft tissue augmentation. And if you don't know that, and if you don't have patience to wait how the results are going to be, then also it is going to be tough for you. So please do remember this. You place an implant, it was already a hole there, so you can easily place an implant. Implants get attached there in the bone. Now, what we did, we placed a membrane inside to cover the palatal defect. On top of that, we have placed xenograft. Inside, you had a hole there. We placed a membrane below it, and on top of that, we placed a xenograft. This is a very important step. Please remember this. Membrane has to be tacked. No membrane is to be placed just like this. Why? Because the moment you pull this tissue down, this is going to move. The moment you pull this down, this will move. So you have to have graft, you have to have a membrane, and you have to tack them and then close it. Right? Now see. This is after 4 months. After 4 months, it's our rule to give our temporary prosthesis. You should have asked me in this room that you have done a hard tissue augmentation, but why you have not done soft tissue augmentation? You should have asked me this question. Soft tissue augmentation, why didn't you do it? Because any case of aesthetic implant registry, they tell you to do both hard and soft tissue. Why didn't you do soft tissue? Anybody in this room? Why don't I do soft tissue? No. Look at the gingiva of the patient. Thick phenotype. You don't need that. Thin, I'll show you thin also. Thick, then need all that. Right? Okay. Then we get a temporary after 4 months. Every prosthesis of mine is made by a Delhi lab. It is a Katara lab, which is there in Okra here only. They make the prosthesis, they make the temporary, and they send us there. It is a screw retained temporary prosthesis, acrylic prosthesis, which is given for 3 months minimum. Then look at the development of the soft tissue. Postgraduates have to be taught to have a picture like this. We have to see the picture like this once we remove the temporary. Look at the thickening of the soft tissue around the implant. This is must. Then we take the impression. Now, why this particular case was accepted in Journal of Aesthetic Respiratory Dentistry? Because we were using anodized abutments. These are anodized abutments. It's a little more hi-fi. What we were comparing was zirconia abutment with anodized abutment for putting a prosthesis before giving a prosthesis. So anodized is a little more customized through the company. They give you anodized abutment, it's sort of a pink abutment, and we place a crown on top of that. So we were using in this case a pink anodized abutment, and you can see here we never remove these membrane tags. We never remove all this. Let it go inside. You don't open the soft tissue. See, it is still, the tags are still there. And abutment. And then this is the process. This is lithium disilicate layered on zirconia. This was the result. And like this we did 25 cases. And then we measured it with the soft tissue measurement, we have a device in which we measure the thickness of the soft tissue. Once you measure the thickness of the soft tissue, this is also the reason it got accepted in that particular journal. I'll share with Dr. Sumit once it comes out so that I can share with you. Now, you have this case. Now, if you have a case like this, a young girl who walks in, most of the cases there what we reach to the young girls who comes to us for the treatment. Now, case like this, it's a case of rapidly progressive periodontitis. It is a young girl who walks in